I'm going to use two kinds of salt here. I have just regular table salt. It comes in the big blue can. And then I also have some coarse salt. You can buy these usually at specialty food stores. I've ground this one up a little bit so the pieces aren't quite as big. The trick to this is knowing when to put the salt on, when it's not too wet and not too dry. So I'm going to start by flooding the area with some paint. I want to make sure you've mixed up plenty of paint beforehand so that it doesn't dry out, especially if you're working in a really big area. This is a small space, so it shouldn't be too hard to keep it wet. You don't want to have a huge puddle of paint or the salt will just dissolve. Starting with the table salt, it's fine grained, and I've just put a little bit on. Just take a little pinch between your fingers. Here's the coarse salt, and put it on. Don't dump it on or shake it on with a salt shaker. You'll get way too much. It looks like I'm putting a lot on, but it's really not much. Let it dry for just a little bit. Go back in a little bit more. I find if I hit it a few times, I usually get a better effect. You can see it's starting to pull the water in from the paint towards the salt. And what it's doing is it's drying it out. And as it dries it out quickly, it pulls the particulates of paint in with it. But it takes at least a half an hour to really see what you're going to get, sometimes longer. But you can see where it's starting to dry out a little bit, those white areas. So I've let it dry for a couple of hours, maybe a little longer. Now I'm just going in and rubbing the salt off. The bigger pieces, I'll have to kind of work a little harder at, maybe use my fingernail to scrape them off like this one. And I can tell that this effect that I got was not quite as I had expected, but I still really like it. Usually you get more of a crystal effect, and I can show you that. But you can see where it has built up a little bit around the salt. So here's one with more of a crystal effect. And that's kind of the fun part of salt, is you never know exactly what you're going to get, but you can get some really great textures with it.